On today's show, we'll be diving into the Rule 5 draft. It's on December 10th, but we're only 5 days away. The White Sox have the second pick. What will they do? We talked to Thomas Nestico to dive into the Rule 5 draft here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. CHGO White Sox podcast coming to you live from Studio West of our West Loop Studios here in Chicago. Not used to the formatting. I'm not used to Studio West. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. I'm being produced today by Chloe, producing her first ever White Sox show.
I am so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you. Let's go to a pre-recorded interview where you weren't here, and we're going to go away from the show for 20 minutes. We're going to talk Rule 5 draft with our pal Thomas Nestico. I am in my head about his name. I say it right during the interview, so listen to past Sean during that. But make sure you support Thomas at TJ Stats and at tjstats.ca. Here is my conversation with Thomas about the Rule 5 draft. Excited to be joined by Thomas Nestico. Ooh, wait. I'm now in my head about it. Nestico.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
All right, cool. Sorry. Excited to be joined by Thomas Nestico. You could follow him at TJ Stats, and you could read his work at tjstats.ca because he's Canadian. He's from Toronto. He's a Blue Jay fan. Got so close against the Dodgers this year. I know that must have been exciting. But, hey, an exciting offseason, both Dylan Cease and Cody Ponce joining Toronto. Thank you for joining the show. And how exciting of an offseason has this been for you as a Blue Jay fan?
Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. The offseason, well, as the end of the season ended kind of as poorly as it possibly could, being 2 outs away from the World Series. But I'm really glad to see them actually spending money this year. Last year, yeah, they got Santander, but it wasn't really that big of a splash. They went out before the winter meetings and already made 2 pretty substantial additions. Dylan Cease definitely the biggest. He struggled a bit in San Diego, but as White Sox fans know, kind of the ceiling of Cease, a Cy Young finalist a few years back. He hasn't missed a start in his career, which is unbelievable, especially since he throws that high 90s. He's more of a 2-pitch pitcher nowadays with that fastball slider, and then kind of weaves in that knuckle curve here and there. He was kind of testing around a changeup with San Diego. Initially it was like really, really weird, but last year it was less weird. So maybe the Blue Jays pitching coaches can work with Cease to add in or fix up that changeup. They already have a few really good ones on the team with Gosman and Yasavage, at least the splitters, I guess, and then also Ponce. He comes over with that splitter, that kick changeup, I guess he started throwing in Korea and absolutely dominated. So really excited with those signings there and hearing, I guess, news there. At least talking to Kyle Tucker, it really seems like ownership is pushing hard for the Jays to at least get some more stuff done.
Yeah, and the Cease thing, it's glad to see things don't change because he was always fastball slider, and he would throw that weird 69-mile-per-hour changeup, and you wonder just how he's not able to get any more velocity on it at all. It's a real bizarre pitch. Excited for Cease. Hopefully, he continues to make all the starts over the next 7 years. I know it's a lot of up and down starts. Maybe you get a great 7 innings from him, maybe a near no hitter, and then maybe he's out by the 3rd inning. But hopefully, it's good luck for you guys in the postseason. Let's get into some graph stuff because I feel like I've been showing your graphs on my show for a very long time, but I also don't know if I'm reading them correctly. So when you look at this Sean Burke graph from September, this is his stats from September 10th to September 27th. I think it's around 300 pitches in this time frame. I immediately go to the TJ Stuff Plus and the grade, and I'm like, wow, 4 pitches with a 60 grade. That's amazing. And then I also see, the ton of blue on the expected weighted on base contact. So where does your eyes go when you look at a graph like this? How do you try to dissect a player?
Yeah. So initially, so when we're looking on like a game to game basis, I always definitely start at the bottom there. For this is more of a month for Sean Burke, so we can kind of see how he performed on the little top table at the right at the start. We had around 16 and 2/3 innings. Not a great whip, 1.44 whip, 3.78 ERA is passable, but then you kind of look forward in and see that FIP was 5.30, but it was supported by a 19 strikeout minus walk percentage. So what that's telling me is that Schomburg struggled with home runs in September. And then when we go to the bottom table, we can kind of see where that's stemming from. We can see that xWOBA on contact. So that's essentially, think of it more like slugging on contact, just like how much hard contact is this pitcher allowing. And it seems like Schomburg could not just get anytime his fastball was hit, his curveball, any of his pitches were hit, essentially, they were getting hit hard. But on the positive side, we can see he was having he had great whiff rates, great chase rates, again, above average in both, basically all his metrics, all his pitches throughout the month. And we can then take a look at kind of the TJ Stuff Plus, kind of assessing the shape of the pitch and kind of comparing it to other pitches in Major League Baseball. From Sean Burke, we see that 96, 97 mile an hour fastball, elite extension. Once you get to 7 feet of extension, that is making your fastball play up a ton. And then also 18 inches of induced vertical break. He doesn't have, he has more of a higher release point, where again, just 3/4 slot. But again, 18 inches of induced vertical break from a maybe 6.25 foot release is really, really good shape, especially paired with that extension and that velocity. So we can kind of tell that 108 TJ Stuff Plus translates to a 60, 65 grade fastball. So it's a plus fastball. And kind of going down in order here, his curveball, 82 miles an hour. Typically see curveballs. Again, they're more in the high 70s, low 80s. And the ones that typically don't move that much are the harder ones, but Burke is able to get a ton of drop on his curveball, which is very impressive. Also kind of factoring into that grade over there. When you look at a pitcher like Burke, he has a very similar kind of that pronator triangle. We have fastball, slider, changeup, and then he adds in that curveball. So a pitcher with, I guess, similar vibes to him. I guess in shape, not in terms of delivery and much, but kind of like Jared Jones, Spencer Strider type. Again, I don't want to get White Sox fans too excited, but again, having the stuff there, the extension, the velocity, and kind of playing to his strengths with how kind of he moves and is able to release the ball is definitely helpful when kind of projecting his future output. And again, Sean Burke seems like a pretty, I guess, a pitcher the White Sox fans especially would be interested in taking a look at in 2026. I remember at the start of the year, I think he had a really good start. He also cracked the rotation. That was more surprising there because was he going to be in the bullpen? Was he going to be in the rotation? And he stuck in the rotation for, I think, most of the year. I think he may have had some shorter stints here or there out of a bullpen or like a long reliever. But again, a 31% strikeout rate, that's hard to fake, especially when you're kind of starting. But those home runs, you just got to kind of knock those down. And we can also see his zone rates were fairly high in September. So he maybe just leaving too many curveballs in the zone or fastballs. So when we're looking at my graphs, you get a nice picture, and then I would typically go look at heat maps and pitch locations and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful insight, and yeah, he's the guy with the most potential. He was sent down near the end of August, but I think it was more hitting a career high in innings pitched. Seemed to rebound well after going down to AAA and then coming back to MLB. The K percentage, we don't see 30% K rates a lot around the White Sox these days. So we'll take anything, even if it's like a 4-game stretch. The one quick question I had with you on Burke then, because you brought up the curveball being a little bit of an outlier. I've always just found it interesting that it kind of meets that 0 horizontal break point, which makes it in a way platoon neutral. Do you think that there's any way that shape should be or could be adjusted to where it's a little bit more neutral horizontal, or is it a decent enough pitch with its current shape?
I think right now, I guess it's like, I guess you're asking if it could be more vertical, I guess, with the y-axis there. I think how it is now, just because of how you kind of release a curveball, the way it spins and whatnot, it's always going to probably be a bit more on the glove side. And again, as you mentioned, it's more of a platoon neutral pitch. You can see on the chart, it's basically even to both lefties and righties around 30% of the time. What I'd like to see Burke do is maybe kind of shore up that slider a bit, because again, it has a good shape. It looked like he wasn't getting many chases or whiffs on it. Also looked like he was just leaving it in the zone a ton in September. That could definitely be more of a weapon against righties, because curveballs, again, they are very slow. So
Right.
batters may be able to pick them up pretty easily, especially if he throws a ton of them. So maybe kind of increasing that slider usage to righties, and then that changeup, which also looks pretty good. Doesn't look like he commands it too well though, but again, with an off season, he's still young. The White Sox pitching coaches, they've had, like Shane Smith had a phenomenal year. They definitely can squeeze out more of Sean Burke, and I think he has kind of that perfect foundation and repertoire, just so they can play around with it.
Fingers crossed. He's a former third rounder, and just that frame of 6'6" it just gives you so much to work with. You talked about that extension, just very kind of interesting of a project. All right, let's get into the Rule 5, because you wrote on tjstats.ca about Rule 5 picks. If you were Paul DePodesta, recent hire of the Colorado Rockies to run their baseball front office, you have the number one pick of this year's Rule 5 draft. Who is the person that you'd take 1-1?
For the Rockies, that's tough, because pitching is always going to be kind of weird in Colorado.
Maybe if they had more of a neutral
field.
home, maybe not than the Rockies specifically, just more of the person you like the most.
Yeah, so in terms of pitching, I guess you can go for a starter or for a reliever, like the White Sox last year went for Shane Smith. But I know a lot of teams also kind of opt for a relief pitcher. It's easier to store them in your bullpen if needed, if they're struggling or whatnot. You just want to keep them on your team and not throw them out of the as a starter. One guy I think is very likely going to be selected is Zach McCambley of the Miami Marlins. He was phenomenal last year. A 2.90 ERA, 33% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate. This is across AA and AAA. Was commanding everything well. His slider and cutter were exceptional this year. Both ran over, I think, 40% whiff rates, or close to that. Just like everything about Zach McCamley makes me think he can easily slot in to maybe a mid-leverage reliever right now. I would have to take a look at the Marlins 40-man roster and to see why they didn't add him to it. And they also, I think Pouchard is another name that they didn't add, and he looked pretty solid. But McCambley, I feel like he is going to get selected. I'm not sure right away, because again, he is a reliever, but pretty early. Another name that I like that, again, the White Sox kind of they left unprotected was Peyton Pallette.
Yeah.
Across AA and AAA. Again, he had a 4.06 ERA, but the strikeout rate was excellent. Again, 33%, similar to McCambley. And he is more of also like a 10% walk rate. Again, not too great, but when you have that 33% strikeout rate, it is really good. He generated a ton of whiffs. Again, both on his changeup and his slider. Those were also his like third and fourth most used pitches. So he has kind of that depth in his arsenal: fastball, curveball, changeup, slider, and he performed pretty well, despite kind of that higher ERA. Only a 1.12 WHIP, kind of shows that he might have been getting unlucky with kind of runners in scoring position or just runners on base in general. For batters, the Twins, they have a pair of hitters that actually are 1 and 2 in home runs for Rule 5 eligible players. Kyler Fedko and Kalai Rosario. Fedko is more of like an all-around guy. He just decided this year to start pulling the ball a ton, increased his bat speed about 2 miles an hour, and saw his hard hit rate and his exit velocity is just kind of balloon up as well. He hit 28 home runs across AA and AAA, with pretty solid plate discipline numbers, and just underlying power metrics as well. Kalai Rosario might be the most impressive power bat available. Just incredible. 108, 90th percentile exit velocities. He hit 30, 25 home runs in the year, had 32 stolen bases. He's not the best runner, but again, having those stolen bases is pretty good because like we saw Josh Naylor, even though he has one of the lowest sprint speeds in the league, put up 30 stolen bases in a year. So maybe they just have the instincts to run, and that's always important to see, especially from a prospect. And so yeah, Eli Rosario and Fedco, two guys on the Twins that I hope White Sox fans would be very excited to see them not part of that organization anymore. But those are probably the two biggest power bats. There's a few catchers. Catchers are sometimes taken just because teams need backup catchers. There's a few this year. Daniel Susak from the Athletics, former first-round pick, more of kind of a defensive, more of a backup catcher there. I'm not expecting much with this bat, but a team that needs a catcher, say like the Phillies or whatnot, they can just store him whenever they need him, play him every 5 games or whatever, and still, again, provide solid value. Noah Cardenas, I probably butchered that name. He's also on the Twins. The Twins have a few very interesting, at least hitting prospects available. So yeah, he has, again, I'd say a better bat than Susak, but a slightly worse glove. But again, catchers at a certain point, you don't really need to be too good of a hitter to produce value behind the plate. And there's one really interesting name is Nate Furman of the Giants. Interestingly enough, he leads. I guess I want to say leads. He's projected to have the highest WRC plus of any Rule 5 eligible player at 101. So their Steamer is projecting him to be a league average player, and he was unprotected, which is pretty like rare. Like the next highest was like 92. It like wasn't even like a huge gap between them. Furman is weird because he definitely has low end power. I'm talking like 30 grade raw power. Even the game power isn't that great. He was just able to put up a bunch of home runs this year. So that was interesting, but he has a very good hit tool, very good patience, and is a second baseman. So maybe a team that's kind of wants to bank on Furman's bat to ball skills and just being like a utility infielder, that could work. He has not a strong arm, so I think he'll have to stick at second base. Like he probably won't be able to play anywhere else. He's also very small, so even first base probably wouldn't be an option for him. But those are the hitters there. Again, let's go back to some pitchers. Another White Sox pitcher, Ben Peoples. He was actually an option last year in the Rule 5 draft from Tampa Bay. He went unselected, even though I thought he was a pretty interesting arm. He was traded to the White Sox. I forget who it was for, but it was back, I think, it was just cash.
Yeah, I don't think it was much. I think he was a roster crunch. I think they just moved him off. I'll look for that.
Yeah, so yeah, Ben Peoples, he was pretty good this year, 3.33 ERA in AAA, 23% strikeout rate. Again, not too impressive, but the whiff rate was over 30%. So kind of seeing that gap between strikeout rate and whiff rate, I can see that there's some upside. His strikeout rate could maybe tick up a bit. Really good fastball, a really good slider combo, kind of all you really need when you're a reliever, just that 2-pitch arsenal. I think Peoples could be an option. And there's a few like starters, I guess, if teams would be interested in them. One is Griff McGarry of Philadelphia. I'm surprised that Philadelphia hasn't tried him as a reliever, but they just keep trying to throw him out as a starter. 35% strikeout rate, excellent. One of the highest in, I guess, AA, AAA, wherever he pitched this year. And then 14% walk rate, though. So that's the knock on him there. It was a 59% strike rate, one of the lowest, again, in the levels he was pitching at. But it was a 21% K minus walk percentage. So it's like still a very, very impressive number there, despite, again, such a high walk rate. So maybe if a team wants to take a chance on McGarry being a starter, just because of that fastball is incredible. In my article, I comped it to Brian Wu, that low release, mid-90s velocity. It really, really is that strong. And then he has 2 sliders, more of a sweeper, and then more kind of a traditional slider. Those return excellent. I think 40% whiff rates each. So like they're again, he has the stuff. It's more like, can he throw it for strikes? He has not been able to throughout his career, so I can understand if a team doesn't want to take the chance on him. And then Alex Pham
Yeah,
of the Orioles, um,
that's the
kind
guy I
of
like.
has like that Jonah Tong type release, like very,
Mhm.
very high slot release. High, I guess, helps him get behind the ball, a ton of ride on that fastball. Was able to throw for strikes too. And he's kind of smaller, so he can get down pretty low. So he doesn't get that same, he doesn't get a lot of extension again, but he has that really, really distinct look that might just carry him to success in the majors. You kind of saw Trey Savage. Again, I don't want to compare him to Trey Savage, but Trey Savage, how he looks is such an important aspect to how good he is and how dominant he was for the Blue Jays, both in the minors and in the playoffs this year. Um, and distinct looks are always important for pitchers. It might be the most important thing, maybe after velocity, because just having that different look at a guy. It's just like, who is this guy? What am I swinging at? How is the ball moving like that? And I think Pham, if a team wants to go for a starter, he was used both as a starter and a reliever. Um, so it depends there. But again, the team only needs to keep them on their roster for the whole year, which again is pretty tough. But then they have full control of him, I guess, after that. So then they can send him to the AAA or whatever the year later. So if a team just wants to kind of again take a chance on a guy like Griff McGarry or Alex Pham, and then see how they perform as a starter at least in 2026. And if maybe they don't like it, they can just storm in the bullpen, because I think both their arsenals can at least have some value there.
Yeah, we saw two Rule 5 players last year with Shane Smith and then Mike Vassell, both pitching over 100 innings, which is a huge feat for this organization. So just looking to cash in on that success again. And it is surprising to see two White Sox in your list, because Paulette, I think some people wanted to keep him because he was a former second rounder, and they, I think, ended with 38, so they could have saved one more. And then Peoples is a part of the Hauser trade. So they got Curtis Mead, Duncan Dabbit, who they did protect, and then Ben Peoples, who they left unprotected. It does seem, like you mentioned it, Peoples four seam and slider could at least get him by in a major league bullpen. So it is interesting. And Pham's the guy that really does have my interest, because he doesn't throw a changeup, and that was the one thing that the White Sox unlocked with Shane Smith, was adding a kick change. And you bring up Savage, obviously different players. Pham's 26 and wasn't a first round talent. Savage, 23 or whatever, first round talent. But Savage has that very distinct high arm angle, kind of like Pham. And Pham just doesn't throw a changeup at all. I think he's only thrown like 10 or so. So maybe that's a part where, trying to uncover ways to make a player more valuable. Pham's definitely interesting. Yeah, and then the hitter to pitcher discussion there. I mean, we saw two pitchers work, so I think it seems very easy to hide a pitcher, especially if you just want to use them as a right on right specialist, because they're like Peoples, and they have a great slider to really negate three righties coming up. What really needs to work for a hitter to be selected, I think, in the Rule 5? Is there anything specific that, jumps out at for a hitter to be drafted?
Yeah, the hitters are, again, from last year, I guess, as an example, the only hitter to not be returned was Liam Hicks from the Marlins. Again, he's a backup catcher essentially. It's just like, if you are good enough as a hitter to be selected in the Rule 5 draft, you're probably going to be protected. Like it's tough. It's tough to see a team not at least trying to make room for a hitter they think has value to another team. Essentially, I think pitchers, there's just like it feels like there's so many more, and there's again, you can only have so many on your roster. I think with hitters, it's a bit scarce in that respect. And then again, they're not going to leave just high power guys available. Again, Kalai Rosario is more like an outlier, but again, he has a poor hit tool, maybe a 30 grade hit tool. Like Kyler Fedko, again, he doesn't seem like Steamer projects him, I think, only for 91 WRC plus. Like when we're looking at these Rule 5 guys, they likely need to have something that just isn't too exciting about them for a team to leave them unprotected. Like we have like Johendrick Benego of the Blue Jays. He has high end exit velocities, but he hits the ball on the ground at like a 65, 70% rate. So he might be an option for a team to select. Maybe they can tap into lifting the ball more or whatever. But I think pitchers they're easier to hide. I think just teams have different kind of methodologies and how to work with a pitcher, kind of like Shane Smith, like the Whites. And I looked at Shane Smith last year. I didn't expect him to be selected. And then I saw he was going to go 1-1 to the White Sox and like, oh, what's going on here? And then once spring training came around, yeah, I bought in on the Shane Smith hype. He had that kick changeup he was throwing much harder, like everything kind of looked like that. I feel like in a shorter time frame, again, from it's only 2 months after the draft, essentially until spring training starts, I think you can work with your pitchers more and kind of mold them to see how they fit your team. With hitters, it's just more rare to see kind of a refined talent be available in the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, that was the one thing that stuck out too about Vassell and Shane Smith, and we'll let you go after this, was their size. They're both 6'4", I think 6'5". When I look at Pham, I like the fastball shape and the idea that, it'd be really hard for hitters to square him up, but he's also just tiny. I wonder how much room there is to grow for him where, Shane Smith, it seems like it's very easy for him to like add on muscle and, add 2 miles per hour to his fastball, which makes it just that much more elite. So, a lot of behind the scenes work that really just goes unnoticed until they hit the field and start striking out Shohei Ohtani in spring training. Exciting stuff. And thank you so much for joining us, Thomas. How can people support you? Obviously, they can visit your website, tjstats.ca. They can follow you on Twitter at tjstats and then over on Blue Sky as well. How else can people support you?
Yeah, you kind of cover them all. I'm most active on Twitter. I have my new website I launched maybe a month or two ago. I'm very excited with how that looked. You can find my apps I produce there. So basically all the graphics I share are generated through those apps, and my articles as well. I kind of moved off Substack and into my own kind of environment where I can play around and customize things however I see fit. I also have a Patreon, which again grants you access to those apps, at least for the off season. At least currently, all the apps are available for free if you want to just test them out and see how they go. I'm really proud with what I've created and how they work, and I've heard a lot of good things from other people as well. Thank you for having me on today.
No problem. And just to echo what people have told you, I mean, truly, it's a very easy to use website. I'm able to find the Sean Burke one we used today. You've now told me how to download them too. I can create the graph and then click the download button. I don't have to screenshot it. It's a really smooth app. So congratulations to you. You've been a great addition to the baseball Twitter space. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, thank you for having me.
We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Dispensary. They are here to elevate your football season. It's going to be a big game on Sunday, Chicago versus Green Bay. Head over to Sunnyside. They are your home for judgment-free shopping. They have a crazy selection of over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. And wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. If you are in the south part of Illinois, you can go visit them in Champaign. If you are up at the top of Illinois, you can go visit them in South Beloit. Stop in to the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff. If you are a newbie, they do have an expert staff that can take you through your first time. They can let you know which strain to use and not to use. They could help you choose your way of imbibing. Head over to their website for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. For returning customers, use code CHGO50. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Dispensary, Bright Buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Brunt Workwear. They are the best boots out there. It is the holiday season. If you have a hardworking man in your life, if you yourself are a hardworking man, give yourself a gift with Brunt. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability. Brunt thought that was BS, so they built tough boots that feel great from day one. There's no breaking in, no sore feet, because the people out there doing real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Brunt knows they have the best boots on the planet, so let you try out any of their products on the job. So head over to Brunt Boots. And again, if you have a hardworking man in your life, this would be a wonderful gift. It could be a wonderful gift to yourself. Skip the throwaway gifts and get him something built to last. Brunt Workwear. Our listeners get $10 off their entire order with code CHGO at checkout. That's Brunt Workwear, BRUNT workwear.com, and use code CHGO for $10 off. Order today and let them know you heard it here on our show. Welcome back to the CHGO White Sox podcast. We are talking about the Rule 5 draft. It's going to be on Thursday, December 10th, it's probably a perfect time to make the very special and important announcement that on December 9th, the day before, we will have a live show during the draft lottery. That is truly the most important day next week for White Sox fans. They could go sign Kyle Tucker. This might even be more important. The draft lottery, where the Sox have the highest odds to get the number 1 pick in the 2026 MLB draft, will be taking place on the 9th. We had a live draft lottery for when the Blackhawks drafted Connor Bedard, or at least got the selection for that. Hopefully we are getting the Connor Bedard of the 2026 MLB draft. Hopefully Rock Chalowski will be a White Sox, so join us there on the 9th. I believe that show is at 4:30, but it will be live with the ongoing draft lottery, so we'll have a live watch along for that. It's scheduled for no time yet. So I think 5:30-ish is what we're planning, but obviously we'll keep you updated as we get closer to that day next week. The Rule 5 draft is the day after. And the White Sox found great success in this draft last year. Shane Smith became an all-star. Since this version of the Rule 5 draft, he is the first player to be an all-star in the year after being drafted in the Rule 5 draft. The only other player to do that was Dan Uggla with the Marlins in 2006. Shane Smith did something truly special last year. Some people might have argued if he was or wasn't worthy, but the fact that he was neck and neck with people being a Rule 5 draft is why he ended up getting the nudge there. And he performed extremely well even after the All-Star break. He needed to be shut down after an incident in Pittsburgh where I think it was a fake IL stint. Doesn't matter. Came back and pitched extremely well after that stint. And then even then, the Sox acquire Mike Vassell after the Phillies draft him in the Rule 5 draft. They trade him to Tampa. Tampa then trades him to the White Sox. Vassell gives them over 100 innings. I haven't been able to find, or I really haven't looked into it yet, but I've made up the stat and we're just accepting that it's true. The White Sox last year were the first team in Major League history to get 200 innings from 2 Rule 5 players. 200 inning seasons, separate 100 innings pitched seasons from 2 separate players. So the first team in Major League history in this iteration of the Rule 5 draft in this made-up stat. It sounds believable. Seems rare to get one guy to throw 100 out of a Rule 5 draft. To get 2 guys, it has been extremely impressive. They're trying to dip back into that well. In our chat with Thomas, he brought up a lot of the guys that he liked. I talked about my love for Alex Pham. We talked about his love for Zach McCambley and his slider. The thing that really sticks out to me is, Thomas brings up if you're taking a hitter, you're likely taking them for some defensive reasonings. That's why we saw Gage Workman make an appearance on the White Sox last year, was because the Cubs thought that from Detroit, he could be a possible 26-man defender for them, playing third base, second base, and shortstop. Didn't work out for them with Gage Workman, but it's either going to be a defensive player like that or a catcher. The Sox have Corey Lee. They have Kyle Teal. They have Edgar Caro. The last thing that they need is a catcher. So I really don't think that this pitch is going to be, or this pick is going to be a hitter. I really, even though Thomas threw out some Twins hitters there, I don't think that there's somebody that's sold me enough that they've had success at the highest of levels and are truly just knocking on the door and, they have all this untapped potential. Thomas brought it up. If you're being unprotected as a hitter, there's likely a reason. We saw last year with Shane Smith, the reason the Brewers didn't protect Shane Smith was because they just ran out of 40-man spots. They didn't have the ability to protect him. And it was either this or keep Chad Patrick. Both players put up 2 WAR. It was really, in a way, a Sophie's choice between Patrick and Shane Smith. They were picking a good pitcher and leaving someone unprotected. That was just kind of the Brewers' bad luck there. The Sox, having the second pick after the Rockies, should be in a decent position to have their pick again. I don't know what the Rockies will do. The Rockies might completely avoid the Rule 5 pick, so the White Sox might have back-to-back first overall picks if the Rockies do not choose to make this pick. It seems like more and more teams are deciding to make picks in the Rule 5 draft, so I would assume that the Rockies do something. But even then, Thomas started to go into it when I asked him, who would you take 1-1? The Rockies are a completely unique conversation than what we would have on the South Side because of Coors Field, because of the elements that you have to pitch in the thin air. It completely changes what pitch shapes and what normal gravity would do to baseballs because you're, 4,620 feet above elevation. 5280. Thank you, former resident of Colorado, Chloe. So yeah, it seems like they very easily should take a pitcher. I will get into the three guys that I like after the break, and we will talk about who I think, if I had my choice, if the Rockies ended up skipping their pick, who I would take 1-1. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm not right after the break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to let you know about our friends over at CHSN. Yes, the Blackhawks and Bulls are in season, but CHSN is your home for the Chicago White Sox. It's Blackhawks and Bulls seasons on Chicago Sports Network, but when the White Sox are in season, it's also the home of the Chicago White Sox. Visit chsn.com/podcast to sign up for your 7-day free trial of the All Access plan, which gives you over 300 live games per year. Catch every basket, every goal, every pitch from your mobile device, television, or wherever you want to watch. CHSN is your home for the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox all season long. Chicago Sports Network, your home stream advantage. CHSN is also available on Xfinity, DirecTV Stream, and Fubo. Visit chsn.com for more details, and their offer again is at chsn.com/podcast for a 7-day free trial of the All Access plan. And who doesn't want to watch Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, and the Hawks right now? Come on, they're on fire, and Connor Bedard is putting up highlights left and right in every single period. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Shady Rays. We are coming on to a big moment. It is the holiday season. If you're panicking about gifts, stop panicking anymore. It's the one right above it, Chloe. You're so close. The future is bright with Shady Rays. We're offering 35% off polarized sunglasses with code CHGO. Visit shadyrays.com. They are the best sunglasses out there. They are stylish. They are durable. I had my pair for 3 years, and I truly left them in a field. And that's why I don't have them anymore, because they were not attached to my body, and that was my fault. But outside of then, I could have left them on my driver's seat, just completely sat on them while getting into the car, and they'd be fine. They're extremely durable. And here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, even if you give this gift to your grandkid and they lose it on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair, no guilt trip, just replacements. We've teamed up with our friends over at Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people at shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO. All right, so the three names that I'm giving out here on Rule 5 draft pick day, 5 days away. If I had to say the three names that I want for the White Sox to take, one is Alex Pham. The current prospect in the Orioles system is unique. Pham does throw a four-seam fastball 57% of the time. It's a little bit of a wonky sample because it's 3 2/3 innings that is being sampled. The four-seam fastball sits around 93.2 miles per hour, and it's nothing great when it comes to extension, but the stuff is incredible. The stuff plus, it's a 108 graded pitch. The grade on a 20 to 80 grade scale would be 65, and it's mainly because of this extremely steep arm angle that Pham presents. It's an 84-degree arm angle, and he gets an insane amount of insane vertical break because he's able to get behind the ball so much at that arm angle. And what I think the White Sox need, and what Shane Smith showed, was yes, he can develop a pitch, and adding that kick change made him into a starter. But what he was able to do consistently was rely on his four-seam fastball. He was able to go out there 55% of the time and throw his four-seam fastball. You need at least a pitch that can consistently get you by in the majors. Pham has that in this four-seam fastball. This four-seam fastball seems unique to where if the curveball maybe isn't on that day, maybe he's going to be able to bail himself out with his slider. Maybe he'll be able to work around it with his cutter and supplement the four-seam fastball. I also think, too, with that steep arm angle, maybe there's a way that they develop a changeup that just completely falls off the table and makes it really impossible for hitters to square up anything at the top of the zone with a four-seam fastball because of that ride, and anything at the bottom of the zone, hopefully they'll just be swinging over because you're trying to catch up to the fastball. The changeup falls off the table. I think there's a lot you could do with that arm angle. So Pham is a guy that I'm definitely interested in. He's only 26, 5'11", 165. I'm a little bit concerned about the size. The thing with Shane Smith, the thing with Mike Vassell, 6'4", 6'5", big frames. They were able to grow into what they already had. Shane Smith was able to take his fastball from 95 miles per hour to 97. Alex Pham, I think, has probably maxed out his body, already maxed out his frame. 93.2 is probably where he's going to be sitting. The next two names are because I think they'll be starters. And Thomas brought up Paulette and Peoples being interesting names in the Rule 5 draft. Two names the White Sox could have protected, and they left unprotected. I think that's mainly because Paulette and Peoples are relief pitchers. I think if they're drafting somebody, they're looking for somebody that can give them length. Vassell gave him 100 innings. Shane Smith gave him 100 innings. They're trying to get 100 innings out of somebody. So that's why these other two names are popping up for me. RJ Pettit is just a very big person. Pettit has a 6'8" frame, 300 pounds, a very big guy, 2.74 ERA in 23 innings pitched in AAA last year. The walkout to strike ratio is fantastic, 34.4% K rate to a 10.4% walk rate. Really dominant throw strikes as well, 62.1% K rate. He mainly throws his slider that has like an average grade 99 stuff plus. Doesn't hit the zone a ton. Does get a decent amount of chase rate, 37%. Whiff rate's around 41.7%. But it's not like a dominant pitch. I don't really understand why this is his main pitch. But with his large frame, 6.8 or 6 feet 8 inches, his four-seam fastball, he's able to get 6.7 feet of extension. And although it's 95 miles per hour on average, there isn't a ton of carry and movement on it. I like the fact that the extension probably makes that look a little bit more like 97. But he's not able to hit the zone a ton with it. He's able to use his sinker, and he's able to find the zone a ton with that. So maybe he does switch to more of a sinker-slider routine, and then, like Jonathan Cannon, he plays that four-seam fastball up in the zone to get swings and misses. But Pettit, I like the frame. If he's able to add a little bit more of mile per hour to even just like 1 to 2 mile per hour on each pitch, I do think that this would be a worthwhile Rule 5 pick. The final name is similar to Shane Smith's journey. Decent college career, but a little bit underwhelming. Ran into, some just lackluster things, I guess. Not really injury like Shane Smith ran into, but Pete Hansen, currently of the Cardinals organization, was a third-round pick in 2022 out of the University of Texas. Hook'em. 91 innings pitched in 2021 with Texas, a 1.8 ERA. Then in 2022, a 3.76 ERA and 177.2 innings pitched. But then in 2023, his first year in minor league ball, 113.2 innings pitched. 2024, 128.1 innings pitched. 2025, 137 and a third innings pitched. This guy, even though he hasn't proved himself at a level above AA, has been able to show you that he can give you 100 innings. And although he is a lefty and the four-seam fastball isn't overwhelming, he does have a decent amount of control, and he has a fair breadth of pitches. This is from Fangraphs write-up. Hansen's changeup has taken a bit of a leap, and his projection has shifted from fifth or sixth starter type with slider command to high-floored back-end starter who will work efficiently and eat innings. Hansen's fastball has nearly bottom-of-the-scale velo for a big league pitcher, but his command to the top of the zone, where his back-spinning heater plays best, allows it to miss some bats anyway. His low 80s slider has tight late movement, and he can land it or a slow curveball for strikes. That's true of Hansen's entire repertoire. He's throwing everything for strikes 65% of the time or more. He's running a career worst walk rate right now, still only 8.7%, and he still looks like a plus command guy under the hood, which has basically been true for Hansen's entire time as a prospect. The same deceptive arm stroke that helps Hansen hide his fastball is aiding his improved changeup, and its tailing action gives him some of the finish on the arm side half of the plate. This is a fairly complete pitchability lefty poised to debut next season. I think he could be a White Sox. He seems like he could be a lefty. They use Tyler Alexander a ton, and I don't know if they're going to have Tyler Alexander back on the team. They use Tyler Gilbert a ton. Hansen could be a young arm that you put into some weird situations. If you need a spot starter, he could be like Mike Vassell, where, if you need him in a high leverage situation and lefties are coming up, maybe you use him. Also, with his changeup developing, he could probably pitch to both lefties and righties. I think if I had to make a pick today, the Rockies skip their 1-1. I am taking Pete Hansen. And the crowd goes wild. Woohoo. Rule 5 talk. But that's how gross we get here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We want to thank TJ Stats for joining us. Was able to fill out 25 minutes talking analytics with him. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Appreciate Thomas's time. Thank you to Chloe for producing the show. We are wrapping up here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. We will be back next week. And again, on the 9th, we will have a live watch along for the MLB Draft Lottery. We will see you then. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.